Welcome, friends, to Tagged Up, the podcast about video games, beer, and where we dance. Just, in our chairs, because it's fun. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 305, and I'm here with Lucy.
Not in a chair.
No. Standing in all her excellence.
Standing desk wanker, yes.
And sitting in all his excellence is Aadil.
Me.
Hey. I do enjoy,
Hi.
Lucy, that you got a comfortable chair, just like Aadil has now, a nice comfortable chair. And you're like,
Doesn't
gonna
exist
stand now,
anymore.
mate. Just gonna stand.
No. Secret
Yeah,
labs,
pretty
get
much.
out of here. No.
Good. Let's open some beers. Aadil, you and I are going to twin. We're going to twin this evening, aren't we?
Yeah. What is the... I guess we start with the DIPA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
That kind of week, is it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing Canada Week. Northern Monks, Old Flax Store Projects, Canada Week. And we are drinking the DIPA OFS062.
Yeah. The old Flax Store. The Old Flax Store, number 62. I assume it's the 62nd brew they've done at that space.
Yeah, I assume as well. It's also a collaboration with Third Moon Brewing.
Someone you're familiar with?
Nope. It's got Citra, Incognito, Eldorado, Nelson Sauvant, Rawaka, Galaxy, and Enigma. It also has the flavor text of many cities.
Yes.
Like, well, I've lived in Vancouver, briefly for months at a time in Edmonton, the Canada.
Just Canada.
I have adventure awaited. I've been, I used to be a bear eating a fish. I've seen moose, and I've lived in Calgary, and unfortunately they said fuck all of the Atlantic provinces, and have nothing there. Otherwise, I would point at Halifax. But yes, obviously a really fun, like, very luggage sticker style tin.
So this we're going to drink two of these beers over this episode and the next. But there was a third beer that came as part of this this pack, which I have drunk. Aadil, have you had that one yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if we were gonna do samesies for the next couple eps or have a split ep, but I think we'll see if I can manage to save it for next week.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this poured.
Well,
I've cracked it open already.
I might have to drink a beer that I have from Edmonton next week then.
Oh.
Edmonton.
Yeah.
Shipped specially in for you? Or just
I don't remember where I
found?
bought it. I think I bought it from Left Field Beer, and they do a lot of exports. I think it's like a 750ml champagne bottle.
Oh, nice.
Saison or something like that. So
You know,
might have to crack out the big boys next
Yeah.
week to make up for this week, since
Yeah.
I'm not drinking anything
Yeah.
out
other
of
than
curiosity,
water.
what's the brewer?
Have
I don't
a
know
week.
the Edmonton brewers nearly
I
as much as
can't
used to.
remember for the life of me. Maybe I'll check before the end of the podcast.
It may come. It may
I'll
just...
do it
yeah.
next
Yeah,
week.
you can tell me
Next-
later. It doesn't.
Mhm.
It does not have to be right now.
Yeah, there's no rush. My beer, as I poured, has frothed up, but it's dissipating quite nicely. It's got a good old sort of 15ml of head on it, though, and yours is even bigger. I see. Good, yeah. You got a little bit more in the glass. It's got a lovely nose.
Yeah, I would say a
to it,
finger
though.
and a half, almost 2 fingers.
That's a nice nose. It's lovely.
I was just say the I think it's the Sauvant, the Citra Incognito really came out on the pour. Just like even as I cracked it, I was like, oh, just like some pininess, and some nice, like, I would say high sweet citrus, like tangerine.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Jeez.
Oh, that's a great first quaff.
Oh, you know when we were talking about sort of the quality of putty last week, this is it has a quality to it that, again, it's sat somewhere kind of in this. It's not quite that juice bomb, and it isn't even attempting to be kind of the new wave of dippers and have that sort of earthy oniony, salady kind of note to it. It's not incredibly ripe on all its fruits, but it does have a little ripeness to it as well, whilst you're getting a lovely amount of sort of sweetness sort of loaded up front, and some almost sticky kind of caramel sort of flavours in there.
Oh, that's
as well.
a good way of saying it. Yeah.
It's got this kind of lovely little flow to it where suddenly it's like, oh no, there is a bit more to this.
Yeah, I would say it's not quite piney, but it's like there's right at the back. There's like a deciduous-ish note. Like it's not super piney, but it has that sort of character kind of in the back. And I think it's sitting with the fact that it does have this sweet citrus in the front, that caramelly maltiness in the front top as well. And then you don't notice quite how much there is a bit of a bitter until the sweet fades.
Yeah, agreed. And it's, as you say, it's a lovely colour.
That's amazing.
Like it's just almost like a blood orange kind of colour when you're looking at it, kind of not on the camera. It's got this lovely orange, but it's a slight hint, a deep orange, a slight hint of maybe brown in there as well, but only just to make it that little bit deeper.
I'm jealous. Like,
Oh,
that's why I'm not drinking. I dug my heels in because I was jealous of you two having the same beer. You didn't include me.
Mate, it went up. It went up on the page. Went up on in the Discord. If everybody would like to come and drink beers with us and share the same beers that we have, we occasionally put in on the Discord when there's a special or a limited set of something going around in the beer channel that we have. Yeah. And again, as with the party last week with Points of Brew with Stephen grabbing that for us, he posted this in the beer channel, and I mean, because it was Canada, I thought, fuck it, I'll buy one. Postage was ridiculously expensive. I said, well, I might as well buy two then, because it's the same postage, and I could just give them to Aadil as well. I could have brought 3, Lucy. Then I've had to have shipped it up to you.
That's fine. Yeah. I genuinely didn't see this. I wasn't paying attention, clearly.
I will say that it also has a lovely tropical, slightly pineapple-y finish, which again I think is just as things fade, you sort of notice that slightly sweet, sour, pineapple-y taste, and like I said, passion fruit. Some of the tropical flavors, which are there on the nose, linger enough that on the finish they sort of come to the forefront.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It has a lovely little journey to it in terms of saying, here are some flavors. Here are those lovely fruity flavors. We've got those nice malts, a little bit of sweetness in there. Here's then that ripening of everything. It's almost the same sweet fruit flavors that just ripen in your mouth over a few seconds, and then they just peel away for a little bit of bitterness, and that starts to fade. As you say, leaves you maybe with those higher sweet kind of fruits, maybe just that little bit of pineapple that sticks around. It's maybe for what was it, 8.5% DIPA.
Oh yeah. We forgot to say that part.
It feels like it's going to be chewy, right? That first kind of note when you sip it and you get that lovely caramel, you think, oh, I'm going to feel the viscosity in this. But actually it's quite smooth, really. Yeah. It doesn't have that kind of bulkiness to it.
It's got just enough of a mouthfeel to coat the mouth, but not so much that it like sticks around.
Absolutely. So that's what we're going to drink for the next hour.
Imagine drinking that fresh from just like right out the tap in Canada.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Be
amazing.
And where is Old Flax Store Projects?
So where's Northern Monk? Leeds. I assume that the Old Flax Store.
I meant not that. I meant Third Moon. My bad.
Third Moon. Third Moon Brewing Co. I don't think there's anything on the can which tells.
It's in Milton, Ontario.
Okay.
That's a nothing place. Sorry.
Well, they have good beer.
Sorry, Milton, Ontario. Yeah. That's what you get having a Canadian on the show who can just rip apart your location. Scathing. Let's enjoy this beer, Aadil, you and I, and we'll move on to talk about games for this episode. All the games that we want to for this week, or anything that kind of takes our fancy. Lucy, as you're not drinking this week, the floor is yours to kick us off with. I know you've got something that we pushed back from last week to discuss this week.
I'll start with that. Yeah. Please touch the artwork, which I played on iOS. I played it on my iPad. I think it's just on Steam at this moment in time, so just mobile and Steam.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very abstract puzzle game. It's really influenced by, and I think it, I guess it's pulling from like the works of Pierre Mondrian.
Mondrian?
Oh, Mondrian, yeah.
Mondrian, yeah. Who I'm very unrefined person. I know nothing about art, so first I'm hearing about this guy, but I learned a lot. Very thick lines and very, it's not cubism, but very
It's Dadaism, isn't he, Mondrian? No, maybe he's not. Fuck knows. I did an art GCSE like 4,000 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
God
I
knows,
didn't even do that.
I know some. I remember names. That's about all I remember from that.
Yes, but like very geometric looking, a lot of squares, a lot of different kinds of squares. And yeah, that really fits well with this kind of puzzle game. It's what I really like about it is when you start the game, it asks you, what kind of mood are you in? Like, how tired are you? And my answer is always going to be very, but it's just, it's like, and it says, okay, here are, it's got 3 main types of puzzles and multiple stages within that group. And when you say, okay, I'm feeling okay, or I'm feeling a bit tired, or it's been a long day, don't bother me, just give me something to stare at. It offers you one of the 3 types of puzzles. When you go in after the game, I don't think it asks me again, or maybe I have to pick from the menu for it to ask me again, but you can just freely pick whichever group of puzzles that you want. You can go into the main menu and pick another one from a different stage at will. You're not locked into anything, depending on your answers. But yeah, that was nice. But there's 3 different types of puzzles, and they are very abstract, so they are kind of hard to describe. And I think even if you looked at I think you'd probably have to look at a walkthrough, maybe a trailer you wouldn't maybe get the gist of it. But they are very inspired by Pierre Mondrian's art, and it's one of the puzzle sets is, okay, you have to emulate this piece of art that's on, I think it's on the left side, and on the right side it's like, okay, you have to touch on the screen and press, okay, I want the line here, I want this to be coloured in this colour. It's like using paint. It's basically, okay, I'm trying to emulate the what I see on the left side of the screen, and have to colour in these lines or draw these lines in a certain order so that it matches the other side. And these puzzles get these are probably the hardest set when it's because you can only it gives you an order. So say, okay, you can only, for your first move you can only draw a line, for your second move you can only use a colour yellow, for the third move you can only draw a horizontal line, etc. And yeah, these get really hard. And I was like, oh, because basically when you try and colour in, it's sort of like using paint, but you're using the where you touch, everything else turns to yellow. So you're basically colouring in everything apart from the limited space of white.
Right.
And then you're having to, it's sort of like a matching puzzle game where it's like, okay, I have to decide where I'm putting this colour because it's going to go into these adjacent squares and stuff like that. So that was probably the set that caused me the most issue. When I was like, I think that's what made me bounce off it first of all, because I think I started with that one. But when I went,
is that one kind of, and is this the puzzles kind of in general? Is there a set way of doing them? Like, is there only kind of like one method of being able to get through. You're like, right, this line has to go here, this color has to go here, this line then has to go here, and you match it in that sort of way, but you have to get that order correct to get the puzzle. Or is there a little bit of variation in that?
Yeah, fortunately you don't have to. It does have a counter. It's like, this is the minimum amount of moves you can do it in, but you can still, change and toggle and use as many moves as you like, which is good, because some of them I just couldn't think of. Okay, I know there's there's 8 moves I can do this in, and there's a very, straightforward solution to it, but my brain is just not picking up on it. I'm using 56 moves or something like that to get it done, which is nice. It tells you the counter, but there's absolutely no, not incentive, but no demand to get it, in that. It's not like, I don't think anything else unlocks in the game if you do it in the optimal amount of steps and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's nice. And the other sets of puzzles, was it sort of told like this love story in New York, and it has a really nice, like the abstract art of it. It really gets across, like, I mean, it looks like a New York City, or like, for us Brits, maybe not the Canadian, our adopted Canadian friend, like the London Underground map, and it's like it tells a story of like the hustle and bustle. It's like you are like, it's basically, you're doing a maze. So think of a children's book where you're just drawing a maze, using the lines and just drawing, getting from point A to B. And these mazes get, more elaborate, a bit more, get bigger, and then like the perspective of it, the sort of gets warped, and you get in a bit, I don't think I got motion sick. I was close to that, but you get in
really?
It gets a bit. It looks like it's on a round curved CRT screen. It's like you really zoomed in, and it matches with the beats of the story, how with this love story, but that is the most simple one, where it is just like, okay, I'm drawing a maze from point A to B, and that's it really. And only probably the last 10 levels or so, when everything's a bit warped and distorted, things get a bit harder. And the third set of puzzles was probably the one I enjoyed the most, when it's sort of similar. It's sort of like Snake, where you're having to get these, you've got these grid lines, and you have to get one little dot over to its like little connecting place, and if it draws the snake there, like other dots that you have to get to their respective like destination, they can't cross through the snake that's already drawn through there. So that was probably the one I enjoyed the most. But yeah, they're all really enjoyable. I think jumping into the hardest set of levels did take me back a bit, because I was like, the game's asking me if I'm stressed. It's me these really hard puzzles. But I think once I worked out the Microsoft Paint aspect of it, it made it a little bit easier. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's very colourful. You can learn a lot about different types of art, I guess, because it doesn't just go into, I don't even know what you'd call his. I clearly learned nothing from the game, because I can't even remember what
the Mondrian stuff is the Still. And I like around the same time as Dadaism is Bauhaus. So yeah, it probably it depends if it stays within a period of kind of modern-ish sort of art, like turn of the century up through the war, kind of level. Yeah, the first 50 years of the 20th century, essentially.
Right. But it mentions how it's different to, like, as you say, Bauhaus and Cubism and stuff like that, and the use of the free primary colors, and how contrast empty space, black and whites and stuff like that. So it does go into that, and it gives like this very nice aesthetic of walking through this art exhibition when you like zoom out from the levels. So It's educational, but
Nice.
you know, got a brain like a sieve, and I didn't do an art GCSE, so meant
Well,
nothing. but I
this
enjoyed
sounds
the puzzles.
perfect. Sounds perfect for me. It's something just, especially if I can get it on my phone, just as something I can sit and be like, oh yeah, I just want another puzzle. I've done my Wordle for the day. I need something else just to have 5 minutes on. Did it did it pull you through quite quickly, or is it meant to be played in more of a relaxed sort of kind of state of being like, yeah, I could just do one, or is it compelling enough for it and pulled you through to say no, get like 10 done and then put it down?
Yeah, because I think the game even says maybe on like the product page, like this is meant to be a relaxing experience. But after I, dilly-dallied and dithered with the hardest set of puzzles for a while, I just went straight through on like the easiest, and then over the course of another day or two, I finished probably what I'd call the mid-tier, medium difficulty puzzle. So got through it quite quickly after I wasn't so daunted by the hardest puzzles. So yeah,
Right.
it's good. Nice couple hours. I enjoyed it. Really good.
Nice. I'm just gonna have a look on.
It's on Android.
Yeah, it's $3.99.
Yeah, it's not bad.
On Android, yeah.
It's £7.19 on Steam.
On Steam.
So
Wow.
quite a big, especially given
That's
that
always
it
a
seems like
disparity.
it's like clearly made for touchscreens. You'd think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there's not being able to play it with unless I guess you play it on a Windows tablet.
Yeah.
Not being able to play it in the way that it was designed shouldn't cost over twice as much, one would think.
That's the thing, to entice people on a platform that's notorious for not getting people to pay anything. I think you have to offer that lower price point, because people are like, premium game, that must cost $2.99.
Yes, yeah, exactly. There's a weird, well, whether it's just us, but mobile as a space seems very, very odd in terms of like pricing, the kind of product that you expect for, like 50p versus what people will pay on Steam for something kind of similar. So it seems like it's a very different kind of market with that.
Yeah, it's strange, but yeah, because that Dungeons and Puzzles game that I'm playing, still working my way through. I think about halfway through levels now. Yeah, I think that was like $2.99, $1.99 or something. It's like a really well made game. Yeah, just on a corner of the Apple App Store.
Yeah.
Probably triple the price on Steam. So, yeah.
Nice. Good. I think I'll be picking this one up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Sounds like a nice relaxing experience. Well, as you say, Lucy, a little bit educational as well. And it may just top me up, kind of stuff that is maybe back here,
in there,
hidden away, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course, of course, that's who it was. We shall see.
I know that guy.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh yeah, I've seen that somewhere before. Fuck knows where. Who knows? 30 years ago. Good. Lucy, was there anything else that you have been playing? You wanted to chat? Oh, this sounds like there's going to be loads. The long yes of like there's thousands of things.
One that I'll probably go into deeper depth with, but two very, very early impressions. I'll do the two very early impression ones. One is Getsa Fumaden, which is a game from Konami, which is bizarre, and just saying that.
Yeah.
New game from Konami. It's a spiritual successor, I guess, or take on a game from like, I think it's a Super Famicom era. And this is on early access on Steam.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, and it has been for, I think, just under a year or something.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this looks all right. This looks cool. It looks beautiful. The art style looks beautiful. Inspired by traditional Japanese art, like very thick brush strokes, and watercolors and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, I'll see how this does when it's out of early access. I don't tend to play games in early access. And Ben, you were kind enough to send me a code for it on Switch. I started it in handheld mode, and I think that might be a bad idea because it looks a bit grainy. So I'm gonna get it up
Oh, right.
on the TV, because it's got such beautiful art style. It just I don't know if it's a Switch showing its age. I imagine it is, and maybe the lower resolution. I don't know what resolution it's going to be on the TV, but I'm going to try it on the TV and just put it in the dock, see if it runs a little smoother, because it looks. I don't know if it's choppy. I don't think it's the frame rate. I think it might be something to do with like the motion in the game and maybe some of the blur or something. I tried toggling a setting where it's something like I think screen shake or something like that, and I turned that off and it looked slightly better, but it looks a bit. It shouldn't look this bad.
Okay.
You
I mean,
know?
it's
The
not
beautiful art shouldn't look this bad.
it's not quite cell shaded, is it? It's more like
Yeah,
that Akami style
yeah, that's what I was
of
about to say,
thick,
yeah,
thick
Akami.
brush strokes, thick black brush strokes. And again, what Ghost of Tsushima tried to do with its with some of the stories that it told. They're sweeping ink strokes. Big, thick black ink strokes. But this looks like it's just full of color as well.
Yeah, and it looked a bit. It looked like it needed more saturation in the color, because I went to the settings and it was all the way up, like the contrast, and it was like, okay, I don't know why it looks this bad.
Sure.
Which is a shame. I'm gonna get it up on the TV and see if it looks any better. But I'm really early in. It's a roguelike, and it was throwing a lot of systems. Yeah, my favorite. And it was throwing a lot of systems at me right out the gate. From what I can gauge, it's like a Dead Cells where you always start in the same starting area as such with a roguelike, and you go throughout the world and you unlock different weapons. And I think these different weapons you find, you can either recycle for like this other kind of currency and this other kind of resource to then spend in, I think, permanent and maybe maybe temporary, but I think permanent upgrades. Or you can use that weapon and maybe it will turn up in your starting camp. As I say, there was a lot of systems going on. It seems weird that it's on Steam Early Access still on PC, and I'm not sure if this Switch version is Early Access, because that's not Nintendo's MO.
No,
they don't. They don't.
I think trying to remember from the emails and the press releases that I've seen, it is being released on Switch first. It's been in PC early access for like a year.
Well,
and it's come out on Switch. Maybe it's come out. Maybe it hasn't quite come out on Switch yet. But then, like a week later, I think it's like a full release on Steam or something like that.
So the Steam version 1.0 was slotted to release today, the 16th.
Oh.
And
okay.
That's when so early access purchasers basically get all the deluxe edition content for free.
Yeah.
I just was reading the patch notes, and V1.000 was patch notes were yesterday, and it was dated for today release. So I think that's probably why they went gold with the Switch build, I assume.
And I
there
think
might be
it's,
like a patch,
patch in the PC.
And it came out on Steam in the last few days. On Switch in the last few days, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The only reason why I was wondering is because some of the text looked, like there was like 2 spaces in between, like an apostrophe and the next letter, and it's like, is this in early access? It can't be on Switch, but maybe that seems like a thing.
Yeah.
Easily done with a patch. I can't speak to the balance just yet because I'm very early on, and but yeah, I think it's just the onboarding which has turned me off slightly, where it's like throwing a lot of systems, a lot of text at me immediately without me knowing what this crystal does and what the kind of game loop is. I think introduce me to the game loop and then start telling me about the different systems, which I thought something like Dead Cells did really well. It's very straightforward. You've got a sword, go kill things, but it's like every time I hit an enemy or something dropped, it's like, here's like 5 different screens of like what this is, and it's like I don't know anything about the game at this point. I don't know anything about the loop. Yeah, it seems a bit strange on the onboarding kind of thing, but I'm gonna keep at it because, especially if it it looks like it does on like the trailers and stuff like that, and on PC. I mean, it's a beautiful looking game. I want to see what this is about. So yeah, that's just early impressions. Not too good. Hopefully the gameplay will shine through, and it'll be a good fun playing experience rather than maybe it's a bit rough at the start and then get into it. But the combat feels all right so far.
Good. Good. It seems like a game Konami shouldn't get wrong with their history of games.
Mm-hmm. That being said, I was playing Circle of the Moon. Is it Circle? Yeah, Circle of the Moon, the first like Egovania that came out on Game Boy Advance. Yes.
Is this the one they've is this the one they've just added to the new collection as well?
The collection that came out last year.
The a new grimoire or something like that, isn't it?
Right.
Like, they keep adding. There's a collection, then they're like, yeah, we'll just throw another one on. Here's another game for you.
I don't know what that is. That might be that really bad Apple Arcade one. Which that's awful.
Yes.
I don't.
It might be that terrible thing. That. Yes, definitely a terrible thing.
I tried it and holy crap! It's like an auto battler. It's like you don't even have to do anything. Yeah, and the combat just feels bad, and it's like these single levels. It's like a 10th of a Castlevania free level, and you're just getting coins and chests. And nonsense. It was a free-to-play thing that they pulled from this, and then they just put it in Apple Arcade.
And again, from what I know about it, it's like Chapter 1, play as Simon in this one level through this thing, and then Chapter 2, you play as one of the other characters from one of the other games, and something like taking like really iconic bits from each of the games to throw in. Okay, not that. That's not what you're playing.
Yeah, no. Circle of the Moon, which is a good game. It's part of one of the good ones on Game Boy Advance that they put out in the collection last year. But I don't like it. It's a grind fest. So it's like one of the only Castlevania games I don't like. It's typical Castlevania, but I started playing it before Metroid came out last year, and I stopped because I started playing Metroid.
Yeah.
And now I've gone back to it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is such a grind. Like boss fights take like half an hour. It's just like I don't want to play this anymore. So, yeah. So Konami, some missteps here and there, but yeah,
some.
Some, yeah.
Well documented on previous Tanked Up podcast episodes.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll keep trying with this because it seems like a very small team within Konami were passionate about it and wanted to make it. So yeah. I'll see. It seems like it's got good early access reviews on Steam. So,
and as we've said for ages with Konami, just like start getting stuff out again. Right, that video game releases kind of flagged and were non-existent for a time. So just to see them being like, we are working on stuff. We are doing things.
Yeah. Not that weird Contra game though, where it's like you have cooldowns on your weapon, which was besides the point of Contra. But anyway, we won't go there. Yeah, other game that I want to speak about briefly is Infernax, which is a good Castlevania game.
I started Infernax as well.
Yes. It's on Game Pass. I got a code for it on PC. From contact I haven't spoken to before. But they must know me. They must know what I like, and I like Infernax. I've only played like an hour of it so far, but it's really good. It's Simon's Quest. So Castlevania 2, you have a day-night cycle, and it's got a Metroidvania map, but it's more it's more confined, where it's like, okay, I'm going to these different parts of the villages to fulfill quests, and some quests appear at night, some appear at day, and it's what I love about this straight off the bat is when I started the game, where it was like, okay, you can play what is, I don't know if they call it normal mode, but standard mode, or you can play casual mode. And they say you can drop down to casual mode at any point, and I'm like, thank you, because just in case it's too hard, I like the option. I don't want to have to start over again. And
can't go back up though. Once you come
No,
down to casual,
it can't.
you're on casual.
That's fine. If I drop down to casual, I'm fine with committing to that. That's fine.
First skeleton boss, down to casual. I'm
you?
on casual now forever.
I kind of wish there was like fucking make a Chivo for beat it without dropping difficulty, but I think it's like literal like difficulty gatekeeping. Like if you have the ability to change it, you should be able to change it up and down.
I think in this case it's different because there is a progression to it. If it was just like you die and that's it, okay, but there is a progression to it where you earn coins and you can earn XP, and then because you're earning XP, you can get like upgrades quicker and stuff like that. I understand why they made that decision in this case, but because you can earn up XP and you can just farm enemies over and over again because they reappear once you just walk off screen, like most
just go back in
games. Yeah, just farm them and then you can just get really beefy and just keep upgrading. You can get like really OP at the start of the game. So there are ways around its difficulty, and which I like.
That's what I might do. I've only I got to the village, or got to the sort of the castle, and got into the daytime, went around a little bit, did some stuff, died, got a side quest, died to the side quest, and I'm like, fuck, that boss was hard. I'll drop it down to casual and start again. I'm like, actually, I was really close to being able to buy an armor upgrade or a life upgrade or something like that, which would have made all of the difference. So I think it's definitely because I'm only maybe like 40 minutes to an hour in-ish. I think I might restart on the normal difficulty, which I think when they bring up the descriptions of the two difficulties, it very much says it's like, as you say, it's like classic difficulty or classic mode, and it very much says this is the mode the game is meant to be played in. So I think I might restart on that and do that and farm a little bit, and spend 20 minutes, half an hour just farming and buy a couple of items, be a bit beefier, and then try again.
I'd recommend that, and that boss is pretty. I don't want to be mean, but that boss is like very doable. Once you learn, he has like 2 attacks, and you can easily learn and dodge them. So.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
No, I realised it had 2 attacks. My timing was just very, very poor.
That's fair.
One of the things I really liked about it, and it's the thing that kind of I started playing, and you kind of almost get a decision straight away. So the game has decisions in it, and the first one is: this bloke is just there, and he's all like in pain and agony, and the image of him comes up, and you can tell that, which is really good. Like the art in it works very, very well.
Yeah, really good.
But he says like, kill me, and you have the option, and it comes up saying, kill him or save him. Mm-hmm. And at first I'm like, oh, I'll save. I know he said to kill him, but I'll try and save him. And that's an interesting option for what actually then happens. So
I kill him.
Yeah. So the second time I went through, because strange enough I had to start again. I picked kill him. But it will be interesting to see what the repercussions again of that, because a character was on screen, they saw you do it, and they like fled essentially. So I'll be interested to see where that character, if they do pop up, but what the repercussions of those kinds of actions actually are.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was the other wrinkle where I was like, yes, this is different. It could have just been like a 8-bit side scroller, just like Castlevania 1, but it's really leaning into like Simon's Quest and like having these different systems and I guess you can call it narrative parts and stuff like that. So yeah. Really enjoying that. I can't wait to go back to it.
Yeah, nice.
Shall I talk about the game? The game.
Oh yes. I mean, before we launch into that, we're coming up. Not too bad on our first episode for the week.
Yeah.
I just want to check in, Aadil. I know you played a game this week. Maybe we'll try and give you a few minutes after Lucy's launched into her next one, just to give us a little bit on what you've been playing as well. But if Aadil gives you a little bit later, and that kind of tickles your fancy, you can just go to our Twitch channel and have a look at his first looks of what that game was, if that is the game you're going to talk about.
It is, and we should have the VOD on YouTube this week as well.
Perfect. But we'll come back then, Lucy, to you. Is this the main thing you've been playing this week? Or is it just the thing that you really want to talk about?
Both.
Okay.
It is Grappledog, which came out last Thursday. Yeah, I'd only just briefly touched it by then, but I really got into it over the weekend. It is a 2D, you'd call it a action platformer. It's very physically based. You are a dog and you have a grapple hook, and it reminds me of a Lost game from the Game Boy Advance, something like that. It's really colourful. It has this one central hook. It's probably about 8 hours long. I think it's got 6 worlds, 33 main levels, and a bunch of different bonus levels that you unlock by finding a token in each one of the in some of the levels. But it's got a nice bit of content. And yeah, it's really fun. It's something that's just so lighthearted. I haven't been in the mood really for playing games recently, and this was the perfect thing, because I was like, am I gonna have to wait until that Kirby game comes out? Something Nintendo, a bit breezy and a bit, just something that just gets to the fun immediately.
That brutal post-apocalyptic Kirby game that's coming.
Yes, The Last of Us. I just want to swallow cars, and something breezy and just easy like that. And this just reminded me. It's like a lost Nintendo game. It sort of reminds me of something like HAL Laboratory made, like a little side indie project that they made or something like that. Because it feels really good to play. And I will say at the start I was like, there's something there. There's something a little frustrating about the platforming. A little bit off about the grappling hook. It seems like it works 85% of the time. When you just, reaching out, using that grapple hook, it sort of felt like Halo Infinite to me, where it's you can't. Sometimes that grapple hook just doesn't connect the way you want it to.
You've got to be a foot closer, 2 inches, and it would have done it. Yeah,
and with the physics system, sometimes it's okay, I just cannot gauge this swing. Usually it was a very hard swing to get a collectible out of the way, and not on the normal path. It was off the beaten road, but I was just something a little bit off, slightly off. But when I got used to it a bit more and just met the game on its own terms, and I just be okay, it isn't perfect, but once you do, get a bit more used to the grappling hook, the physics, the way the dog moves, it's really fun. And I think, I really think a second Grappledog 2, if the developers, had, if they wanted to make it, had the means to, I really think it could be something it could feel like Celeste, it could feel that good. I just think it's a little bit off, but you can still find so much fun in it, in its current state. And
nice.
Yeah, it's sometimes you get in that kind of flow state in this game where it's okay, everything's connecting. I'm going through. There's these platforming sections where it really wants you to stay in the air and connect moves and chains and stuff like that. You've got this bounce, you've got, the grappling, and it throws in all these different things throughout the levels, like these crabs you can use as trampolines. Yes, there's crabs in this game.
Perfect.
10 out of 10.
I mean,
Yeah.
crabs.
I was just say, well, you
crabs
just have to say crabs.
Crabs seem like natural trampolines, don't they? Like with the way their legs work, they bounce on them constantly.
Yeah, because you can ground pound the floor, and they flip over, and they become a trampoline, and then you can bounce on them.
Oh, the underside of the crab is the trampoline. Oh, see, I was thinking more it's the legs that propel.
Oh. It's the fleshy
I also
the meat
was
is.
thinking.
All that white and brown crab meat. Yeah. Sorry, Aadil, what were you saying that? We were...
Oh, I was just saying I was with Ben, and I would assume that the the craboline was because of the legs.
I mean, this isn't the only inconsistency. Well, maybe not inconsistency with Grappledog, but Grappledog comes across maybe more of like a genital jousting style game, doesn't it? Just the name kind of, before I knew it was actually a dog with a grappling hook, I was thinking it was something very, very different.
Did you hear Grapple Dong?
No, even just Grapple Dog.
Well,
someone's made that game. They've obviously just called it something different.
Yeah. To be honest, there is a dark side to this, which makes it a 0 out of 10 game, which is the dog has human hands. Pablo has like 5 fingers, and it's not right. All the animals have like 5 fingers, and it's horrible.
Why would they
Pablo
do that?
I don't know, and it looks weird. I don't like it, so I try and ignore it. But everything else about the game is really good, apart from the sausage,
like the weird
human
hands,
fingers.
like,
and they're like really long fingers, and just like, oh, like no, Grappledog. But it's such a fun game, and I kind of liken it to something like maybe the Yoshi games, like Woolly's World or something like that, or where you can get all the collectibles. There are like all these different gems hidden around each level, and you can get gems for doing like a time trial mode and stuff like that, and gems in the bonus levels, because it's literally like the Mario overworld where you have to have enough gems to unlock the next boss and move on to the next world. And I just, immediately it was like, okay, getting all of them is going to be frustrating as hell, so I won't bother. I'll get the ones that I know I can get, and I had so much fun doing that. It's like, if I miss 2 gems in level, it's like, cool, fine, whatever. If you get all the gems, though, you can pet the dog, so that's incentive. But it's a really good, well-made platformer, and I think once you get used to it and its intricacies and its idiosyncrasies and yes, Ben, maybe a little bit of inconsistency with the physics and grappling hook, you will have a really good time with it.
Good.
But yeah, well, they recommend.
Where did you play this?
Switch.
Okay.
And you can use the directional pad. You can use a directional pad.
Oh, D-pad. Even better.
Yeah, because I cannot use the joystick anymore. It's completely broken at this point with the drift. So I have literally because you can't disable it, I've remapped it to like the camera button instead. And you don't use that in most of the games I play. So yeah.
That's fair.
Fair, I guess. Yeah. Well, that sucks.
It does, but with the games that I'm playing, they allow you, something like Grappledog. Well, I was fine using the directional pad. I don't think the fact that I wasn't using the joystick was to do with, the grappling being a bit inconsistent at times. So, yeah, really fun.
Nice.
It. One of my favourite games this year. So.
Oh, wow. Nice. Cool. We will move on to briefly, Aadil, just to give us a little overview and a quick discussion about what you've been playing.
Sure. I've been playing The Life and Suffering of Sir Brante, which is a narrative-driven hardcore RPG. It's basically like a visual novel where choices really matter, and they matter based on... so, like, you're in this fictional kingdom of I already forget it. It's hard to pronounce.
It's almost
I
like
feel like there's an extra day.
Arrakis, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
almost like Frank Herbert's
Arcanian,
Arrakis.
the Arcanian Empire, but you want to be like Arcanian.
Harkanian?
It's yeah, Harkonnenian. It's very much like a the premise is you're on your deathbed and you're writing your journal, which I thought at first was a bit of a trope, but it actually kind of makes sense because that gives you there's 4 acts basically: childhood, adolescence, 5 acts, youth, peacetime, and then the revolution, which gives you a notion that your character might have to deal with war in some sense, which is why I pivoted. I 180'd at the beginning. I was like, oh right, the author's writing a book. What a needless trope. But actually knowing the structure of your life kind of helps because basically you're just playing through and you're getting choice points and making decisions which will up your determination or perception, your relationship with your family, and presumably in later parts other characters. And depending on those things, when you hit choice points, you may or may not be locked away from certain options. The main stat is willpower. You can make choices that gain willpower. And then to do really difficult choices, kind of the oh, that's the easy way out sort of thing, or that's the ideal solution. We'll use willpower up often. And so once you know that, after the first few choice points, you're kind of like, ooh, do I really this is the thing I would choose, but do I want to waste willpower to do it on this sort of small decision when I might have something bigger coming along? And it's really tight. Even in your childhood, which is supposed to be the prologue, there's some hard choices, and your character can die a number of times before permadeath. And in childhood, you can absolutely make a choice that will kill you. You won't lose your won't lose your save, but that means knowing that war is coming and stuff, you're like, oh, do I really want to have my first death at age 5? No. And so the art style is really nice. It's sort of like India ink on paper kind of thing, really thick brush stroke illustrations, which are well matched to the text, which is there's the odd cut scene, but mostly it's you reading. You can check out the VOD, you'll see it's just me reading a lot for an hour or two, and then agonizing over choices. But I really liked it. I think the key is it's well written, and well written in the sense of the game design as well. The choices it's not like they made a game with choices and then hired someone to punch up the prose. The choices really do feel integral, and then the follow-up, I have no idea how branching the tree is, but it does feel like the subsequent choices were really influenced by what I chose before. So either it's good writing where they actually didn't cut corners and had several versions of things, or it's incredible writing which makes me feel like they did that. Sort of the main 2 stats are determination, perception in your youth at least, and that's kind of observing and learning, and versus being headstrong, and I called it pig-headed in the stream, but I wanted to be more sort of aloof and calculating, and a couple of my decisions were this makes sense for that idea, but my urge is kind of oh, this is a tough choice. Even though I've sort of put in my head I'm going to be not headstrong, I still ended up being kind of split. I think by the end of chapter 5 or whatever, I was sort of, because of the choices I felt like I had to make, because the writing and what I feel is the correct thing to do, I was 4 perception or 3 perception and 2 determination. And I definitely made choices that didn't give me perception points or whatever, because it was no. And you can ask Ben, I definitely agonized over a couple choices. And the thing is there's a regular mode, in which within a chapter you can always backtrack. And then there's Iron Man mode, which is make a choice, deal with it. And I obviously, for entertainment value, but also because I'm pig-headed and I don't I like doing things the right way, so to speak. I chose Iron Man mode, and even if I wasn't playing on stream, I would choose Iron Man mode because I think it's so, especially now that I've experienced it, it's so well written, and the choices really are the mechanic that it would seem kind of like cheating, and like I mean like they what I like about the game is like I kind of want to min max and become Perception Boy, and then it was like that got me 2/3 perception, 1/3 determination because I still had to. I couldn't min max because it didn't feel right, and all it is a stream of words, right?
Yeah.
The other option you can do a game on is whether it tells you what a choice will do, its results. Like if you choose this, you're going to gain favor with your grandfather and your father, but lose favor with your mother, and because of that, you'll lose unity in your family. Because there's like a general stat for family unity, which is whether your family will fight, and then you have individual relationship stats, whatever. And if I was playing by myself, I think I would try and do Iron Man to know what's happening and just be like, I am reading a story.
Yeah.
But because I'm like, we're reviewing the game for the site, but also we're streaming is entertainment. It's like, I think it's better to see what those things are so we can talk about the game mechanics, so we can see kind of like I would have no idea how much of it really was just perception and determination balancing as well as family unity.
Yeah.
If I just didn't if I didn't know how much the choices differed, because obviously once you make the choice, you could then look at it then tells you, hey, you did this, it has this effect. So it's not hiding the mechanic, but hiding the other choices kind of doesn't make the trade-off as clear. And because I'm doing Iron Man mode, I can't just backtrack, right? But I think I personally, by myself, would enjoy the game just being like, I don't care. Let's just go.
Yeah.
Like, at least
I've made this choice. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would play exactly the same way.
Yeah, that seems like the interesting way to do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly recommend this game, even after only playing a couple of hours. And, like, I got to Adolescence, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very gripping. We had a few people jump in stream who had played it who were like playing slowly, casually, but like on multiple runs because they liked the game or died. Yeah, I think it's really good. And the big hook is the characters are you're in a world where you get a lot basically. If you're either born into nobility or the common folk, and you could be the priesthood, which is slightly separate, which we don't know a lot. And your dad, your grandfather was a commoner who got appointed to be a judge, which made him a nobleman. His son was a nobleman. His son married another noblewoman, had a kid into nobility, but then she died, and then he married a commoner to the chagrin of his grandfather, and you are the result of that union. And she had her own common daughter, who's very common, because she has no nobility to her name, so she's like the lowest on the totem pole, but she's older than you.
Like me, yeah.
Yeah. But the whole point, like, the whole point is it's clearly a fucked like Ender's Games, like, and classist and very religion. This is all religion bound, so very much like felt Catholic induced in certain ways. But and you at the very beginning of the game you choose your view on destiny. And I personally don't think it exists, but there was an option which was like your environment shapes things. But like destiny is your environment shaping you. And I picked that kind of against my own beliefs just because it was in line with what I believe, which is we're shaped by our environment. But obviously I don't believe destiny exists just because I was curious. But also now I'm like, even just talking about it, I'm like, how much did that matter?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so like I know that I'm going to finish this game once and play it at least a second time and try and do something vastly different just to see, just like the inner designer of me wants to know how deep the mechanics go. Because like when I talked about that strange case of whatever, that Switch game that was like a visual novel-ish type, yeah, with weird supernatural things, and then I realized that some of the like choice points were, or like the discovery mechanics were just like nothing. Like it wouldn't have mattered what I did. It was just like do an activity, and that was a big letdown. This, because it's so tight so far, I have a feeling that those really matter, and now I want to know, how different could it be? But I'm not even an adult yet, and I'm already like wonder how different the playthrough when I'm an adult will be, even though I don't know what a playthrough on an adulthood would be. So I've definitely like got hooked by this game.
Nice, good. Cool. I imagine it's a game we'll potentially talk about again as you discover more. You know, whether that's kind of what you have discovered through like your first playthrough, or whether you get to another one to see those differences and see how those choices actually impact. And you know, we talk a lot about liking games where choices actually matter and make a difference to this. And this seems like a game that will actually do that. So it'd be interesting to hear how all of that plays out, you know, by the end of that experience. So let's finish there for episode 305, and we'll talk about the beer that we've drank this evening. Aadil, I really like this. This is fantastic. This is a fantastic DIPA. It just hits very, very well and has a very, very good flow to it. As we talked about, lots about the flow of a beer, going from those lovely sweet notes into that ripened fruit, and then a little bit of bitterness, and then just leaving you with that sweetness at the end. It works very, very well.
Agreed. I mean, I don't have much else to add except you mentioned the putty earlier when we first were tasting it, and I feel like it does feel a bit like a throwback to those thicker, juicier times with, but again, it's not like a juice bomb. It's just like it has something that I feel like maybe the pendulum has swung too far away from, because I didn't realize that we weren't getting that thickness and that layered taste lately even in really good DIPAs, right? Like we're just like it's welcome and a bit nostalgic. And like you said, the taste curve is excellent. Yep, I thoroughly recommend this beer.
Perfect. Good. So that's episode 305. If you want to get hold of us and talk to us about the beers and the games that you've been playing, you can go to @TankedUpCast on the socials or outoflives.net. You can also hit up any of us to join our Discord and talk about beers, video games, movies, TV programs, anything in entertainment that you want to talk about. I'm @Nova_47. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And Aadil is
at the Omniarch.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening.
And also, please drop us a line, tankedupcast@gmail.com, or any of our Twitters, and let us know what you think about our new format.
Yes, cutting our episodes down into 1 hour-ish sort of chunks for your enjoyment. You know, the jury's out still. There's a lot of this middle bit that we've got to deal with, rather than just talking about other stuff, which we'll be doing in a moment, because we
but not on air,
because we just record episode 306 straight after this one, so we can keep drinking and keep enjoying ourselves. However, this week I've got something I can't talk about on air until a few days, so we've got to come off air for me to be able to talk about it. Sorry, everybody, but you can catch episode 306 where I'll be talking about that game next week when it releases on your podcast service of choice, as this one will as well. And go to your podcast service of choice, rate, review us, share with your friends. It's a way to help us grow that little bit. After 7 years, we need a little bit of a push on the old podcast services.
Speaking of, I don't know if you're aware of it, but next Thursday will be our anniversary.
Oh!
Because I have a Google Calendar alert on our anniversary, which is the 24th of February.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway. We have nothing planned. Just letting you know.
Brilliant. But thank you for joining us this week. We will see you in a few days' time. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
www.outoflives.net